All right, we're gonna do a new show called Making Comics. I'm Eric,
I'm Wilson.
I'm LJ.
and we're gonna start with TK number one. Our first episode with TK number 2.
Issue TK number 2, yes. Matter of fact, what you're seeing on screen and everybody at home is TK issue number 2, page 12. TK is for Team Kaiju. Issue 1's already out and available on Comixology.
This was interesting for me because I was like,
Wait, why are you cracking up?
I'm cracking it because like the first thing we see is Wilson copying and pasting stuff.
well, that was one of the interesting things to me. Like when I was because I prepped this. Wilson does not work this fast. As fast as he doesn't work this fast.
I wish I did, I tell you.
But I was called that was
amazing. I don't remember it going this fast.
Now I don't know anything about the coloring process. So when I saw that, I was just like, "You guys copy and paste? Is that how this all works?" It's like
When we need to.
I created what I would call streamlining the coloring, where certain things that doesn't necessarily need to be. I find when I'm.
Are you trying to come up with a lie?
No. I find that I sometimes get caught up in the minutia of things, where things just take way too long. I overthink things. So, for occasion, I get an idea about how to streamline it, get the backgrounds done a lot quicker. So something like Windows, it's almost the same thing each and every time. So I've learned to play around with creating a Windows filter, and for backgrounds that aren't as too important to what's going on, I would do this copy and paste type thing. Same thing with the bricks. As you can see, as I'm working on it, there's a lot of tweaking, a lot of things that needs to go on. And this is sped up, as you were saying before, but it still takes time to do this. So in some cases, yes, it is, I wouldn't call it a cheat. It's just a tool that I learned to use. So certain things like backgrounds and patterns and things like that makes it a lot quicker for me.
See, the funny thing is
And
that
I do this for my own book. For other books, I may actually just sit there and do everything anew as I'm working. So
so for our books, you don't go the full out that you do for the client.
Well, do you want to wait longer?
Well, that is an interesting concept in itself. How long has it been since? How long? Wait a minute. When did you first come up with Team Kaiju concept?
The concept I came up with 94, 95.
So before the beard went gray.
Way before the beard went gray. Although I did have some gray hairs in high school. But Team Kaiju was created just as I'm getting ready to leave college. I had done my internship with Marvel, and Jim Kruger, who was working on his book, Foot Soldiers, he was pitching around his project. And I saw the fact that we were having a conversation, and he kind of mentioned that, you know, everyone should kind of work on their own projects, at least once, you know, give it a try type of thing. And I had created a couple of characters in high school and in college. Sunray was one of them created back then, before Team Kaiju.
What about the Wombat?
The Wombat was kind of created in high school, the concept of the character of me, but not the Wombat that we know
From the comics.
For the comics that we worked on. So the Wombat is more of just like the name came from the college nickname, but the character himself was not developed until we were together with Section 8.
Okay.
So
see, like all this stuff to me is like interesting because, like, again, I'm not an artist.
I'm just sitting here watching. I got nothing to say.
Well, that's okay. You can stay quiet. Anyway, no, but all this stuff is interesting to me because, like, I would see you, like, for lack of a better phrase, the thing is already drawn, and I think it would be done, and then you're adding all these accents or whatever you want to call them, and it's adding more elements, which I think is great. But I would never think to add these things.
Well, here's the thing too. With the style that I'm doing it, which we kind of call it like an anime style. The colors are solid, and I haven't done any real gradations into it yet. It's kind of, again, a style that I was developing that gives me it still keeps the artwork in that cartoony kind of feel, which is
cartoony has always been your strong point.
Yeah. So keeping it in that kind of cartoony feel, that animation kind of feel, with occasionally traditional comic book look as well. But for me, when I'm saying comic book look of the 80s, it's the stuff that I enjoyed.
Right.
Which is kind of funny because with the 80s coloring style, we were limited with the type of palette we could use.
Yeah, wasn't there a technology issue that was called prevented you
Well,
when you did a computer, and prior to that you had a marker, so that also had certain limitations.
Right, exactly. So with that is a mixture of everything that I've learned in the last 20-something years of doing comics.
Which is odd because you keep telling me you're 25, so.
Well, time travel
Shut
has a lot to
up.
do with it too. Or what's like denial of age is what really has to deal with it.
It shut up.
But again, for me, it's pretty much: is there a way to color this as quickly as possible, yet have a type of to get the message across what I want there to be? He's a monkey, so he needs to have fur. I could get caught up in going and doing all the hairs and stuff like that, and it'll take forever for a panel that's going to be looked at for just a few minutes type of thing. So what I want to do is basically get the message across of what is going on. In the end of the day, it's a flaming monkey.
Right.
But again, I want the readers to be able to look at it and be able to tell what it is, what's going on, and is it conveying the story.
Right. Now, I have a question. Now, when you first started coming up with TK and stuff like that, did you come up with the characters first or the villains first? Because I've noticed that certain creators come out with it differently.
With TK, I created the characters first. I created Kaiju Amy, I believe, first before Kaiju Man. Mm-hmm. Now, what it was, it more came from the question of.
And were you listening to music when you did this? Because something just popped up in the corner. It's like
I was looking at you at the time, so I didn't see what popped up.
It said something like "in town for a day" or something like that. I don't know what it was, but it was called. You can watch the video again later and tell me. Right. But I think you were listening to music, and it just said, "Hey, we're playing this now."
I could if I wasn't playing music, I might have been listening to an audiobook.
Okay.
So occasionally something will pop up.
So do you get very zen with this that you can do multiple things at the same time?
Yes, I could.
Because as a writer, I cannot be like listening to an audiobook while I'm writing.
Yeah,
at that point I'm transcribing.
I cannot do reading while I'm listening to something. So I need to. So if I'm listening to music, I could listen to music while I'm doing artwork.
Okay.
Or I could listen to an audiobook.
Okay.
Last thing, I do not want to just hear the silence. I do not need to be left. I cannot be left with my own thoughts.
Yeah, I know what he's thinking. Because sometimes I'll be working, and since I'm getting into my own thoughts, I'm too focused. I'm focused, and if one thing goes wrong, it just explodes in my head, and I just want to burn the world. Because just like...
Because you have anger issues?
Yeah, besides that. But it's just like... Because you're so focused on what's going on, there's no that little distraction to keep you... Okay, I know how to fix this. You're way overthinking things.
Yeah.
If you have that little bit of distraction, it keeps you focused. There's just so many times where it's just like... I've worked on
so
something...
So it prevents you from getting lost in the minutia.
Yeah.
That's what I find is my problem a lot of times with working in art is I could get lost in the minutia. So if I'm listening to music or if I have an audiobook playing, again, like I said, I'm not in my own head, because then I will zoom in like 300% working on the fur when I realize we're going to zoom out and print size is going to be so tiny. There is no reason to do that. Well, so I again.
Now here's a question, because you worked, you started out in print medium, but nowadays everything's not everything, but a lot of things are moving to the digital medium where you have like stuff like Comixology and Amazon's Comics and a bunch of other like Indie Planet. They have a digital distribution also. Are you finding that because you do get lost in the minutia that it's making it easier to view when you are reading it on like a Kindle and stuff like that? Because people can blow it up a lot.
Well, I use Comixology when I'm reading comics themselves, and I do occasionally zoom in to stuff. So that's good for like nice Easter eggs.
Right.
Gaidojin, for example, you could zoom into the computer screens and see Easter eggs that we put in there.
Available now on Comixology.
Exactly. Thank you, LJ. So, but in other cases... sometimes, again, you could easily get lost and spend way too many hours on a panel or a page, and sometimes it's not really worth it because, yes, it would be really cool to see all the little stuff. And we do that for computer screens where we can. But something like, again, going back to the monkey since it's on the screen, I need to make sure that I don't spend too much time. That's why, like I was saying, the reason why I listen to audiobooks or music is because I need to get to the point where if I was coloring this fast, which I could do in the sense of like with the markers when I was doing it by hand, then there's this almost an instinct that pops up and you're putting the colors down by instinct, whether it's you're following the beat to the
You got a
music.
Twitter message.
You have a Twitter message.
And I have a Twitter message.
You got to follow Mark Wahlberg?
I don't know.
I don't know.
James Taylor, something like that. I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, that's now that I got to the new
Gonna
operating
rape you.
system, those things keep popping up.
You know you can disable those, right?
I understand that, but I do like using it because this way here, because as I'm working, if I hear the ring of the mail, it's like, oh, is it something important? Is it something important? And it turns out to be, spam or something. So I kind of like that thing popping up to tell me what it is, so I know, oh, I don't have to check that.
Oh, he's not important. She's not important. Stuff like that.
No, everyone who contacts me is important.
Just
It's
level of importance.
It's just the level of importance.
Well, the level if he wants to acknowledge him.
Well, more the level of that. Is that someone who owes me money so they're going to pay me? Or what excuse are they sending me this week that they can't pay me?
Well, it's interesting because this is your project as opposed to working for someone else, and you did I wrote the script, but you did and I wrote the script off of an outline you gave me, but you did the pencils for this page, the inks for this page, and now you're doing the coloring for this page.
I
correct?
did not do the inks for this page.
Who did the inking?
This page was inked by Rich Parada.
Okay, so did he ink the entire book?
He inked half of this book.
Okay.
He inked up to the page that we're around the point I stopped penciling. So he
So
has
far,
the ability to keep inking.
So far, he's inked the entire book.
So
yes.
he's inked all the book that exists, right? So how much is this the last page that you currently have in existence right now, or do you have further along?
I have further along. I have at least 2 more pages, I believe, inked, and at least 2 more pages penciled, or 1 more page penciled.
So we're talking about you have roughly about 15 pages in complete
I think
in development.
I think 14 pages.
Okay, 14 pages.
At this point, off the top of my head, that's full page.
Okay.
Then I know I have at least the next 3 pages in thumbnail format.
All right. Now what's called
So he's been turned into this ape, and I still kept the tail. And apes don't have tails, but then again, this is a magical monkey, so I don't see why it couldn't.
so it was a
couldn't-
fire monkey that was turned into a fire ape that kept the tail.
Yes.
All right. So
So in case, because it's like
because
because apes do not
reasons.
have reasons,
It's my book. Do what I want.
that's the best answer ever.
isn't it? It's weird to see it on this kind of screen only because I'm looking at it thinking, oh, there's a mistake there. There's a mistake there. And it's like, no, it's not. And again, this is only
I'm
something.
writing down your mistake.
This is only something. Really, you're making a list. This is only something I can see, but it's not on the page. Like on the gorilla's chin, it looks like he has a slight thin white outline, but it's not. It just happens to be the resolution of the television.
Yeah.
And the people
Well-
watching this at home may not see it as either anyway.
Well, that's something interesting that we've
like
come
a
across
play shift.
before. Is that what's called certain colorists who never seen their stuff in print don't realize they're always coloring for the monitor as opposed to the print. So certain things that look really great on the monitor don't always translate.
Right, because the monitor is working in an RGB format. Print is CMYK.
Right.
So a lot of newcomer colorists do not account for what's called backlighting. So it's backlit. So it looks it will look great on a tablet. And what I find interesting now is that you have to account for both print and digital. There's some great things you can do digitally, colors that you can get that will look wonderful on a computer, but if you print it, it would look god awful. So a lot of the good colorists are aware of that they need to calibrate their monitors for print. The cool thing is that we're doing both digital and print. I'm still coloring for print just because that's basically the way I'm wired. But I am aware of what I can do to add little things here and there that when it goes digital, it'll pop out even more.
Well, I was going to ask, have you ever had to color a book twice specifically with once in print in mind and once in color in mind, once digital in mind?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, let's call it.
You ran out of video.
Yeah. This is the first part of the video. We're gonna show. We're gonna stop it there and go to the second part and continue with what else we have. All right.
All right. Sounds great.
All right.
See you soon.